Man, I want to be a lawyer ever since I was 6 years old. My parents called me the attorney in the family. So it was like straight line. I'm going to be the attorney, the first attorney in my family. Like there was no other attorneys. My parents were immigrants. So, my sister was the first one to graduate college and then me and so on. So I always knew that this was the path for me. When I finished law school, my plan was to be like a sports agent or a corporate lawyer. That was the plan. That's what I wanted to do. I never wanted to do personal injury a day in my life, but my brother got into a very serious car accident right around the time I passed the bar exam. And he broke his hip and ankle on opposite sides, couldn't walk for 6 months. They wouldn't operate on him for 4 days until we got a claim number from the insurance company. And the second they knew that they were going to pay, then they put us up in a villa suite. And I'm like, man, this isn't right.
Welcome to the Founding Partner Podcast. Join your host, Jonathan Hawkins, as we explore the fascinating stories of successful law firm founders. We'll uncover their beginnings, triumph over challenges, and practice growth. Whether you aspire to launch your own firm, have an entrepreneurial spirit, or are just curious about the legal business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
All right. Welcome to Founding Partner Podcast. I'm Jonathan Hawkins, your host. We've got a real treat today. Today's guest, Dewnya Bazzi. She is doing some really impressive things. So I'm excited to hear what all she's doing and what she's going to be doing. So, Dewnya, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us where you are, what your firm is, what you do, how big it is, that sort of thing.
Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Dewnya Bazzi. I am an attorney from Michigan. I started my core business was personal injury. It's my bread and butter. It's what I love and I'm passionate about. But our firm developed into a full service law firm where I hire experts in pretty much every field of law and then build teams around those experts. So we're able to service our clients in a holistic approach. Currently, we scaled down a little bit, and I'll talk about that journey as well of the kind of the pivot from high volume to high value cases. But we have 8 attorneys now and about 55 staff members currently. Yeah, and I'm excited to be here, excited to talk to you.
Getting big. That's big. Yeah.
We're bigger, so I feel small now, but I think it's more purpose-driven now, so it's really cool.
So talk about real quick, do you have one office? Do you have multiple offices? Virtual, half in office. How's that set up?
So I have a huge virtual team, a lot of offshore team members as well. I'm a little bit of a tech-inspired guru, and I'll talk about that journey and how I became that because I was not that before. But we have an office. Our main headquarters is in Dearborn, Michigan. We have a small Tampa, Florida office where we partner with other law firms across the nation to be able to service our clients that are coming from other parts of the U.S. So really looking at strategic partnerships with other law firms as well. So that's kind of how we're growing right now.
That's cool. So how did you get started in the law?
Man, I want to be a lawyer ever since I was 6 years old. My parents called me the attorney in the family. I always used to my older sister, I used to defend her to my parents, and they called me the attorney in the family, and it literally stuck ever since then. So it was straight line. I'm going to be the attorney, the first attorney in my family. There was no other attorneys. My parents were immigrants, so my sister was the first one to graduate college and then me and so on. So I always knew that this was the path for me. When I finished law school, my plan was to be like a sports agent or a corporate lawyer. That was the plan. That's what I wanted to do. I never wanted to do personal injury a day in my life, but my brother got into a very serious car accident right around the time I passed the bar exam. And he broke his hip and ankle on opposite sides, couldn't walk for 6 months. They wouldn't operate on him for 4 days until we got a claim number from the insurance company. And the second they knew that they were going to pay, then they put us up in a villa suite. And I'm like, man, this isn't right. Both sides isn't right. That wasn't right. That, the way we were treated from the beginning. And then once they started paying, the way we were treated is also not right. So I said, there's a reason that God put this in my life at this moment, the second I'm picking my first job in my career path, essentially. So I got a job at a PI firm. I was there for about a year before I started my own firm. And I loved every second of it. It was a chaotic firm. Nobody showed up to work. There were thousands of files. So I got a crash course real quick. Oh. That's how I learned. But I love the clients. I love the courtroom. I love negotiating with adjusters. I love kind of like beating up insurance companies. Like I love the whole thing. So I was like, this is it. So
Well, it sounds like, I mean, it was probably your destiny, first thing. You were led to where you are, and you're one of the lucky minority that sort of falls into the area they love right at the beginning, sounds like. Most people like me, you sort of have to meander a while, then you sort of find out where you should be. But you got right in the beginning, sounds like.
Yeah.
So you were at that firm for about a year, and then you left there to start your own gig. What led you to do that, and how did you have the confidence to say, all right, I can go do this?
Who has confidence? Let's be real. It's not really about the confidence. It's about just like trusting the process and taking that next step and knowing that like you can be scared as hell on that journey, but you're going to do it anyways. So like there was obviously like a lot of fear around starting your own practice. It's a business, right? Essentially. So first I was still a newbie attorney, so I had a crazy amount to learn still. The firm that I was at really wasn't giving me any of the mentorship that I was like seeking at the time. And honestly, it wasn't the plan. Like, I wasn't like, oh, I wanted to go hang my own shingle. I wanted to start my own business. I wanted to be my own boss. Like, I hear students now when they're talking about it, and like, that's truly what they want. For me, my dad was an entrepreneur, so he had his own businesses. I saw the struggle. Okay, so like I knew like there were like my dad would have a business and hit rock bottom. He'd start over. It'd hit rock bottom. He'd start over, right? Like I was in that. Like I used to go with him when I was 8 years old, like to fill the coolers at the gas station. Like I saw it, and that wasn't really it wasn't the plan, right? But I knocked on pretty much every door, every law firm door of like the community members that had like made it in my city or around the area. And like nobody would give me a chance. It was crazy. And I literally would say, hey, I'll work for free. Because I was working about an hour away with people I didn't know, and like they never showed up to work. And I was like, this is just a toxic environment. Like I need to find a better route, right? And
so hold on. You said I'll work for free, and they still didn't take you up on that?
No.
Oh man.
They said no. But hey, John, like this is the funny part. Like 2 years in, when I started like to make a name for myself, and they started noticing like, hey, like what's this girl doing? Then they started knocking on my door like, come, we'll figure out a fee split. And I'm like, I'm good now.
Yep,
like I got it.
They lost their chance.
Yeah. Funny how that happens. But so it wasn't the plan, but when I did, I realized like I love this too. Like, and I say I love this too because being a lawyer is one thing, but being an entrepreneur is another thing.
Definitely two different skill sets.
I love it too. I love both of them, and bringing those two worlds together, I think is something that we don't see that often. Like you might have a lawyer who owns their own business, but they don't have that entrepreneurial mindset. Like they hung their own shingle, but their mindset is entrepreneurial. It's a very different, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
So anyways, here we are.
It's interesting. I've heard this from others that sort of grew up in an entrepreneurial setting and they saw the struggles. And you go one of two ways, it seems like. You either sort of become an entrepreneur or you go the exact opposite, where you are in a big time corporate, you just want a job because you don't want the ups and downs. But it sounds like you're okay with it.
Oh, I love it. Like I love the no ceiling, right? I love the no ceiling and no floor. Like I could fall hard, like really hard. Nobody's catching me. Like I'm going to fall and I'm going to smash my face, but I'm going to get right back up and know like I'm going to be stronger the next time, and just like that constant, I think that mindset has kept me in play because we took a lot of hits. We took a lot of hits throughout this journey. So like if I didn't have that mindset, I don't think I would be here today.
So let's talk about the early days. You left. Was it just you? Did you have anybody with you?
Yeah, so I left. I did have people with me at the time, just like some, like law school friends that, we were going to do this together, right? The play is like, we're always going to do this together. I just want to do it with people that I love. And that's really where it stopped. It's probably not where it should stop. Hindsight is 20/20. But like, that's where it stopped. And we did it for a while together. But then it kind of like fizzled. They left. They went and started their own thing. And we got, more and more people. So, like, it's been a journey. With the team, it's been a journey.
Yes.
And also fun, but, like, you learn.
Yeah. So you talked about some of the struggles early on.
Yeah.
Any examples of any things that happened that you just sort of had to figure it out, fall on your face or whatever, before you could move on to grow from that?
Yeah, so those are the few really big lessons I learned. Some with the team and some just with the practice itself. So I grew like double in size every single year since inception. So every year I doubled in size. When
Nice.
we
That's
Yeah,
that's
until COVID and a massive law change here in Michigan.
and
Okay,
I'll say,
so
real quick, just put a pause on that. That is awesome, number one, but it's also not easy. I mean, to manage that kind of growth, because you're probably about to get into this, but every time
yeah.
you start doubling, it's like it gets crazier.
And I'll tell you, I was okay, but the jump from year 4 to year 5, so like we were doubling in size every year, and it was okay. And we were like, I was figuring it out, and it was like, you have minor like bumps and bruises, but like nothing like drastic. But the jump from year 4 to year 5 was a massive jump because at that point we had already a high caseload. So now doubling that caseload went like to another level. And my systems weren't ready. And I didn't know much about systems. Like if I had to categorize my default setting, I'm a true visionary. Okay. So like I ideate, I create like solutions to problems really quickly. I can take the hits and just keep going. Like I can stand in a fire and like be like still. Like that's my skill set, but like systematic approach to things. I live in chaos and I'm fine living in chaos, but not many people are. So like your team isn't able to live in the same chaos as you. And once you recognize that systems are the key to growing a business, because that's the key to keeping your team sustainable and operating and all of that, everything kind of changes. So that jump from year 4 to year 5, really I felt in year 6. And I took a really big hit because like everyone was burnt out. The systems weren't ready, so I was trying to like find things, and it was like all in my head. And then I was like, this needs to change. Like I need to reinvent myself. So I brought in a Lean Six Sigma specialist who like was with me for like literally 2 years, and I learned systems like in and out. It's crazy. The real transformation happened at that point. Now I'm like building my own softwares and stuff. So
Nice.
crazy. It's so cool.
I mean, you brought up a good point. You can live in the chaos, but it's bringing your team along. That's a big challenge because, not everybody can do that. Most people probably cannot. And they probably think, this is crazy. What in the world are we getting into here? So you've got to fix your systems and get them coming along. And you probably lost some of them too. I would imagine some of them jumped ship.
Yep.
So what happened year 4 to 5? Where did all the cases come from? Was it just, did you have a marketing system that you turned on, or was it just sort of whatever foundation you'd built was working?
So I'll tell you, John, this is like my secret sauce, okay?
All
So I'll
right.
tell you. All right. So everyone in the legal industry talks about marketing the same way. It drives me nuts. They say you need to spend money on ads. You go to every conference. They're like, we spent $1 million on TV. We spent $7 million on billboards. We did a TV ad of this. And like, right? Like that's what you're seeing. And even now in the digital space, they're like, we're pushing it through Facebook ads. We're pushing it through Instagram ads. Like I built my firm to 8 figures with 0 ad spend. Like I never spent $1 on ads.
Nice.
And the way I do it is literally, I got to figure out a framework for this, and I'm gonna figure out like a simple framework, but it actually is like super simple. It's like I create pipelines where I like plant seeds in communities that I want to serve, or with people that are serving the community that I want to serve. Okay, so let's take PI for example. So all my personal injury attorneys, listen up, because I like charge a lot of money for this, okay? Okay. So in PI, typical marketer attorneys that are marketing are going straight to direct to consumer, to the masses. I'm going directly to people who are victims of car accidents. Those are like your perfect avatar, like, right? But it could be anybody. They could be 5 years old. They could be 50 years old. They could be, like, it doesn't matter their like economic status. Like, you can't really target them in any way. It's just whoever's in an accident, right? So I said, okay, like, where are these people living? Like, when they get into an accident, where do they go? And then you think, okay, they go to like medical providers. They might go to the hospital. They might go to physical therapy. They might go to chiropractor. They might go to pain management, right? Then you look at all the medical providers. And I was like, okay, cool. If they're going here out of these medical providers, which medical providers are likely to treat car accident victims? Because not all of them do. And then I narrowed the scope there. So then I started there, right? So then I knocked on every like door of every chiropractor, PT, pain doctor that I could find. I'm like, hey, I'll take your cases that nobody will take, like your bills, and I'll try to litigate them, and then I would try them. So I'd build trust with that community, although I wasn't really making any money, okay? Because I was taking like the stuff nobody else would take. But I was building trust with that community. Then I said, but hold on, like, this is still getting, like, from a time perspective, it's a lot. Like, I was building relationships with hundreds of these people across the board. That's a lot of, like, dinners, lunches, like, right? Yeah. Grassroots effort. I'm like, where can I find common denominators for the next level? Like, where I can take 5 people and nurture and build relationships into them, and they can nurture me 100 relationships, which would nurture me 100 clients each, and then, like, build this, like, funnel of, like, beauty, right? So then I looked at it and I
wait,
said,
what'd you call it? The funnel? What'd you call it? The funnel of beauty?
It is beautiful.
I love that. I may borrow that.
I never called it that. But I never called it that. Just kind of came out. So I went up and I started seeing a common denominator between, like, a lot of these providers used outside billing companies to do their medical billing. But the billers had, like, a lot of authority, is what I found with the medical providers. So then I started nurturing the medical billers instead. And from each medical biller, they would have like 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, depending on how big of a practice the biller had. They might have 5, right? Medical providers that they really had like a strong relationship with and attachment to. And the providers actually listened to the billers a lot of times when it came to like litigated files. So then instead of nurturing hundreds of these people, I went up one step and I nurtured 10 of these people. And then those 10 brought me like hundreds of them. And then hundreds of them, then I nurtured them through like an event setting or something like that. I gave them value of some type, right? Like new law came out. Hey, I want to tell all of your medical providers about this new law. Cool, bring them all on a Zoom. Well, now it's Zoom, but before it was like in person. And then I would like tell them about the law. And then now they would know, love, and trust me. And the biller loved me. And then they send their patients, like refer their patients to me, or have my brochures in there. And then I just created like this massive thing that just like, it took time to get there, right? So like this isn't, if you're looking for like the quick like reward and you're not in it for the long term, like this is not the model. But if you're looking for exponential growth, this is truly the model. Like I'll stand by that.
Yeah, and then once it turns on, it really turns on, it sounds like.
Yeah. And like you have an option, like are you going to turn it off? Like, So at that point I was like, I wouldn't even know how to turn it off if I wanted to. Now I know how, right? But like before I did not know how. So it was on and I'm like, oh my God, all right, let's go. Come on guys, let's go. We're like amazing. You got cases. You want to make money. But my systems weren't there. And then the attorneys got burnt out. And then there was like, definitely like backlash from that, right? Although everyone made like a ton of money and like for a moment they were happy, but it was not sustainable.
So you figured out the PI practice, and at some point you started adding different practice areas. Was that sort of after you figured out PI year 4 or 5, or did you do it sort of along the way? How did that come into the mix?
Yeah, it wasn't really like that. It was more like the attorneys that I initially started with actually had different practice areas that they were focused on. So I was kind of like supporting and providing resources to those practice areas based on the lead of those attorneys. And that model didn't really work out well because they didn't build the same way. So like, although I would say, here's the model, like it will work, but it takes effort, it takes time, it takes patience, right? if you don't have people leading that have the same amount of endurance as you do in that space, like this model will not work, right? So we didn't see as much progress, but we saw very slow progress in those areas. But then when I started getting people in who recognized they had the same vision, right? Like had the same vision in their practice areas, it started to grow because they use the same model and just like rinse and repeat the same model across practice areas. It works for every practice area. You just have to think about it a little bit, like who is the perfect avatar? Like where are they living? How can I find them? Go find them, right? And live in that community, whether it's online or grassroots, it doesn't really matter. I'm replicating the same model now online, which is super awesome, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to give away your secrets there. You don't have to give away the secrets there.
But.
Yeah. So, you've got this entrepreneurial background. You always want to be a lawyer. You went out, started your firm, and you're having the success. And so what is it that's driving you? What is it that makes you want to do this? Let me back up. Are you actually practicing law anymore? And if not, when did that switch? And then, what is it that is driving you to build this machine you've got?
Yeah, so I can tell you, about 2 years ago, I was really high level, like super high level in my business. Like I wasn't really practicing too much. I had maybe 5 cases, that's it, just to keep my feet wet. But things weren't going like the way. Okay, so we had massive law change in Michigan, by the way. I forgot to tell you. So I had a partnership split, COVID hit, and there was a massive law change here in Michigan. The law change in and of itself was going to reduce my margins about 65%. That was my estimated,
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yikes.
So, but we had a timeline. We had a year and a half to really adjust and pivot before that was going to take into effect. So I was like, oh, let's pivot, let's go, right? And that caused a little bit of friction because I want to reinvest in the business so I don't feel that impact. And then that caused some friction with my partners at the time who ended up leaving. And then COVID also hit the same time, which means there was nobody on the roads. There's nobody on the roads. There's no accidents. There's no cases. Now you're reducing my year and a half timeline of ability to pivot and adjust to 3 months, right? Or 6 months. I didn't know at the time because we didn't know how long COVID was going to last. So all of that happened at the same exact time, which took me from where I was to 90% reduction off the bat, plus a buyout.
Right? Now that is scary. That's scary.
So scary.
Oh my gosh.
So scary. And I'm bringing it up because you're saying, what's your driving force? That was your initial question, right? What's your driving force? Most people would have been like, I'm good. I'll just go figure it out. I'll do something else. I'll go get a job. I have a small, right? And I was like, it's happening. I don't care. My driving force is the fear, okay? The fear of not seeing how far I can take this thing. The fear of not seeing, me laying on my deathbed and saying, man, if I only tried.
I completely relate to that. 100%.
If I only tried. And most people fear to take the next step to actually try the thing. And it drives me crazy. I'm like, but what if you succeed? For me not knowing, so if I hit one goal, I have to hit the next one. And I have to hit the next one. There's not going to be a retirement. That doesn't exist in my mind. That's not going to happen, right? I need to know where I can take it. I don't know where it's coming from. I'm sure God puts inside of you, right? It's something inside of you, your driving force. But that's my driving force. And I have a sub driving force, I would say, with personal injury in particular because of the story with my family and the need to be able to serve and pour into the people that can't speak for themselves is a huge component of this for me. So like right now when you're saying, are you practicing? I'm practicing, but not 100%. So like I have my files that I'm working on and I stay like, I'm making sure that everything is perfect, like systemized perfectly, like the team is good, like all of that. But I have really good pieces of the puzzle in play, not all of them just yet to be able to completely remove myself. But I'm already pouring into like the personal injury attorney community because like just like that model I told you before, like for me it's about those clients. Like if I can serve more of them, there's only so much I can serve in my individual capacity as a personal injury attorney. I could have a docket of how much and then I'm going to get capped out and then I'm going to have more teammates, right? But what if I'm able to pour into the personal injury community, like in terms of the attorneys themselves, change the way they practice, not the way they actually practice law, they know how to practice, but the way they deliver a message to a client, right? The way they make the clients feel, like that's going to impact the client's life so much more. So for me, if I can serve them, then my impact will permeate. And then, I don't know what the next level of that would be. But for now, like that's the stage that I'm in.
I wonder, so I feel the drive. I feel I've had that same thought, if, I'm on my deathbed or I'm 90 years old, if I make it and I didn't try, I'm going to be so mad at myself and disappointed in myself. So I've got to try. Now, part of this, I wonder, maybe it's not causation, but correlation, but you were a college athlete. So, that takes a lot of hard work and, you don't win them all probably. So tell us about your athletic career.
Oh man. So I think my life was like in like decade phases, maybe more, like 15 years. So like there's like a good portion of my life where like basketball was literally my life. Okay. So I'm obsessed with the thing that I'm doing when I'm doing it. So like you can tell, like I spend a lot of time like working, but I literally love every second of it. And like it doesn't feel like a job, right? Same thing when I was in like basketball, I was like all in. I was obsessed with it. I learned everything. I used to do mental reps. I used to do physical reps. I was in the gym like at least a couple hours before everyone would show up. And I was there at least a couple hours after everyone would leave. I just like taking shots all day, right? And if I would hit like 100 free throws one day, I'd have to hit 110 the next day and 120. Like I literally set these like goals and milestones for myself to be able to do it. But it teaches you just like that. I had a lot of challenges too because I didn't look like everyone else, if you couldn't notice. So there was like, for me, I never look at it like that. Like, okay, like I wear a hijab, like it's not a barrier for me. It's always like an opportunity. Like, but like when you have your college coach who recruited you, unfortunately pass away, and then another college coach comes in to take over the team, and then everything starts changing, and then you're getting like weird questions like, can you even see with that thing on? And like you're just trying to play ball, right? It added like these extra layers of complexity other than the fact of you're doing 2-a-days or 3-a-days, even like when you're fasting sometimes during Ramadan and stuff, like, right? Like these actual like complexities that I wasn't necessarily, I think because of my optimistic outlook on life, I wasn't necessarily like prepared for it, but it taught me a lot. I remember one day I was at practice and I think like I had, I was talking to my sports trainer, like everyone typically does. They talk to their sports trainer. And I said, man, like I'm the best shooter on the team. Like, and I legit it was data driven. It wasn't like me a subjective, like my like superpower in basketball was like shooting the lights out. Like I could stand behind that 3-point line and just shoot, but like I would get annihilated every time I would drive because I'm 5'2", right? So, so I'd be like, man, like why didn't coach put me in? Like we needed a 3 to win. Like why am I not in? Like I don't get it, right? So I guess he went back and told the coach, and that whole practice, she did everything she could to dismantle me. Like every time I would take a shot, she would be like, and I missed. I thought you were a good shooter. I thought you could shoot. I thought you could shoot. I thought you could shoot, right? It was like something I've never experienced before, then or now. Like this is like, it's like literally one practice, but that one practice shaped me because I ended up breaking down after about like 3.5 hours. Okay. And I walked into the locker room and I was so mad at myself. I wasn't mad at her. I was mad at myself because, like, why did I break down? Like, who is she? Like, I already know I can shoot. Like, I don't need her to tell me that I could shoot or can't shoot. Like, why did I let her get in my head? And it took a long time for her to get in my head, but still, like, why did I and I literally will not let anybody get in my head anymore. Like, that moment shaped me.
That's
So,
powerful
like, the
stuff there.
grit,
Yeah.
man, like the grit, the hard work, the complexities that came along with it that I wasn't anticipating, the love for the game, like the love for the game also, like, and I still have the same problem, like the love for the game, the love for like what I do sometimes creates blind spots. I love it so much. I'm hardcore plaintiff oriented. I have to bring in a defense mind when I'm prepping for trial because I'm like, there's no way a jury is going to believe them. And then they're like, the jury believes them. I'm like, what the hell? Right? So like, I know myself. I'm self-aware at least.
That's a great story. And I guess, when they changed the law in Michigan and COVID hit and all these things hit, it's sort of like you go back and you're like, all right, it's on me and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't realize like what shapes you until you like look back at it and you're like, those are the moments,
Yeah. Real quick, thanks for listening. If you're getting any value out of this podcast, please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. It would really mean a lot to me. Now back to the show. So moving on back to the firm. So, you are doing a great job growing this thing and you're out there, and I was looking at some of your LinkedIn posts and some of your, I guess you have some videos and some talks you've given. And there's something you posted and you said, investing in your business equals investing in your future. And so I guess the first thing is, tell us about your philosophy there, but then on a more concrete level, how do you decide how you're going to invest, when you're going to invest, and what you're going to invest into?
Oh, I just learned this lesson too, so it's fresh off the press. So when I talk about investing, I'm not just talking about investing like monetary, like dollars. I think that's important, but I think investing in yourself and your own personal development as like a leader and also on your leadership team is huge, because like if you don't invest in your own self-development, so like I spend a crazy ton of money on masterminds, but like I get so much out of them. And then I come back and I'm able to share that with my team. I'm able to grow, right? A lot of people don't want to invest money that way. They look at it like, I'm going to invest in an ad and it's going to get me an ROI of 2x and I'm good or whatnot. But they don't look at it like, I'm leading this ship. Like, I need to invest in myself, my own personal development, to be able to be a better leader, to be able to be a better business person, to be able to understand the finances, right? So that's how I look at it. Also, investment of time. Like, it's the one thing. Like, you can't, like, everyone's trying to be like a 4-hour work week, right? I get it. If you're able to truly kill the hustler and create the CEO, but then you need the CEO, right? Like, then you need to be like strategy. Like, it's not that like your time is spent differently, but it's not spent. Like, you can't expect to build a business that's going to be a legacy business or anything of that sort if you're not spending the time in your business or on your business, right? So I look at investment in 2 prongs. One is from a monetary perspective, but second is from a time perspective in yourself and in your business.
And it sounds like you're sort of like me. Your problem is not coming up with new ideas. So then the question is, how do you decide which idea to chase? Because if you chase one, that means you're saying no to everything else. So what process do you go through to decide what to go to next? I have this problem, and I'm asking because I need help. I'm chasing squirrels everywhere all the time.
We all have this problem because it's just who we are. Like, it's how we're built. We're builders, right? We're dreamers, we're builders, and we're givers. So I look at us as 3 components. I think you're the same. You're a dreamer, you're a builder, and you're a giver. Right? And I just talked about this the other day. I was like, okay, being a dreamer is a problem. It's great, but it's a problem because sometimes we have a problem keeping our feet on the ground. Like, where are we today? We're dreaming, but where are we today? Like, don't forget about where you are in your business right now. So a couple years ago, I took my feet off the ground. Like, I was dreaming too big, man. Like, dream it, but be where you are. And I was living in the clouds, and I literally I don't want to say neglected my business because that seems very harsh, but like you're neglecting your business because you're dreaming. So that's the one thing. Like, don't ever neglect the actual business that you're in and like where you are right now, but keep dreaming. Like, and that balance is not easy. Number 2 is building. So like, I'm a builder. I just keep building. Like, John, all my posts right now that you're seeing are posts that I've been like literally curating for, I can't even tell you how long, years. Like, I built and I built and I built and I built. But what I realized was I was building to a certain point and I wasn't building to deployment, like all the way through deployment. And I wasn't building all the way through implementation with my team. So I would implement something. Some of my teammates would implement it, but it wouldn't be all the way through, like where the whole company was implementing the thing that I just built. So I learned like a big lesson in this, but I think when you build, you need to think of your ideas as like, how can I create vertical depth within the thing that I'm building? Okay, so sure, I'm constantly building something new, but I'm building within the same framework of the thing that I'm building. So first you identify what is the actual thing that you're building. And then you're like, okay, this is the thing that I'm building. For me, it's maybe a little bit different than what you would assume. For me, I'm actually building a pipeline with attorneys and clients, right? Attorneys and clients. Okay, so if I live outside of this pipeline, then I'm getting distracted by shiny object syndrome. And I do all the time, and I have to bring myself back. Is that an attorney or a client? Is that an attorney or a client? Are you building into like the connector, right? Or not? Like if you're not, then you're doing it wrong. Most people think I'm building into like a personal injury practice. Not really. Like it's a little bit broader than that, right? But like once you figure out what are you building, making sure that you're staying within that thing that you're building and ideating within that thing that you're building. So for me, I look at the law firm as like my lab. Because from practicing law, from seeing your team, from seeing the clients, from getting feedback loops, like you start developing more and more ideas. How do I make this better? How do I automate this more? How do I have the clients be better served? How do I make my attorneys better? How do I do all of these things? And the ideas don't stop. So you're not saying, hey, I need to stop all of these ideas because we can't stop them. But you're trying to limit the scope of where the ideas sit by creating like a clearly purpose-driven idea of like, what am I building? And then how am I building it? And then how do I make that thing better and better and better and better? And now you're creating vertical depth and you're not going horizontally. Because if you're building horizontally, you're only going to get surface level across the things that you're building. And then you're never going to grow. Like truly grow exponentially. And it might feel like you're growing because you might be making a little money here, and then altogether it seems like a lot of money. But you're not really building something that is like long lasting and really creating like vertical depth and actual solutions within the same thing, like the same scope. So really niching down and being purpose driven, and then identifying what are you truly building, not what does everyone think you're building, because those are two different things a lot of the times, and then staying like in that space. Like I have it literally, I'm looking over here because I'm literally looking at my thing that says pipeline, attorney, network, clients, and I literally have it like right in front of my face because I have the same problem. And anytime I'm doing something, I look at it, I'm like, does it fit? It doesn't fit. Okay. So it doesn't work.
So again, so you've got the ideas. Do you have a person or maybe a couple people that help you implement, or, in the EOS system, it's the integrator or whatever. You have somebody that's actually going to see this thing through do you do that too?
So I do EOS as well. So the entrepreneurial operating system, for those of you that don't know, and typically in that system, you have a visionary and an integrator, right? That's what you're talking about. I will tell you, I have executioners right now. To tell you that I've truly found my integrator, it's been a struggle. What I ended up doing is I really transformed myself, like how I told you. Like I spent the time to create an integrator person from a person whose default is visionary. So I'm playing both roles sometimes depending on the space. So like in the PI practice, I play both of the visionary and integrator role because I know it so well. But I would love, and I'm searching, if anybody wants to be my integrator and here's how crazy I am and loves me, let me know. But I'm still searching for that perfect integrator for that. But in my other spaces in the firm, I do have an integrator. And sometimes we flip-flop. Sometimes they're actually the visionary in those spaces.
It's, I think a good integrator is hard to find. So, and you want to find the right one for you. So I understand.
I've tried a lot. I've tried a lot, but I'm tough too. Cause like you see how my mind works. And I think as fast as I talk. So the integrator literally has to be like truly see the vision, truly understand that like the way I'm thinking is gonna be like for the future, and be able to like weave while we're going. I know it's not an easy task, but I've been like really breeding some people within the organization that like know me, have been working with me for several years, and they're truly like awesome in their spaces. But to say like I truly have that role figured out, it's probably been it's been a struggle point for me for sure.
We'll keep looking. So shifting
Please.
a little bit, I know just from looking at your stuff that's out there that mentorship is really big for you. I know you are out there mentoring women, Muslim women, probably men too. It's you're really giving back and trying to bring people up, and I commend you for that. But looking back over your career, are there one, two, or three mentors that you had that really that you can look to and say they really helped me get to where I am today? And how did you find them?
I can tell you, I struggled with mentors in the space. So like I look at like my grandfather as one of like my greatest mentors, right? He taught me indirectly, right? It was indirectly or directly, depending on the day, of like what it takes to actually be a good professional. So that was like his role in my life. Like I remember one time at a wedding, somebody asked me for my business card. I didn't have one, and my grandfather wanted to like. I literally created a QR code on my phone that like it's my business card, because I will never go anywhere without it because of that moment, right? In the legal field itself, I had a really tough time finding people to mentor me. Like I told you, my journey of like knocking on all these law firm doors, they were turning me away. There were a couple people that really helped. Dave Christensen was one of them. He's an attorney here, and I tried a case with him. So like one of my first cases, I actually coupled with him and tried it, and he taught me so much throughout that process. And he's been like with me ever since. Like if I ever need anything, he's always there. But I struggle to find really good mentors in the space, and it's probably because I wasn't looking in the right places, to be honest. I didn't know where to look. But I kind of started seeking outside of the legal industry for mentors, and that's where I fell upon like Russell Brunson and like Kent Collier, who's in real estate, and like these are the masterminds that I'm in with them, and they've been amazing mentors for me on the business side of things, and just taking from individuals in the legal industry who I like truly respect, like yourself, honestly. Like I follow you all the time, and I like truly respect you. I'm literally like reading all your posts. I'm soaking it all in. But I struggled for a long time with finding mentors in my space, and that's why I think I hold like whenever I can give like to attorneys or to entrepreneurs, I'm going to give to them, because like I feel like if I had that 10 years ago, man, like where would I be right now?
So you mentioned Russell Brunson. That's a name that I would imagine most lawyers probably haven't heard of. Yeah. I've read, I think, maybe 2 or 3 of the 4 of whatever the series, or maybe 3.5. So I've not joined his mastermind, but I know his stuff, and it's some pretty cool stuff. So, maybe how did you find him, and what led you down that path, and how has that helped you? I'm curious how you've implemented some of his teachings.
Yeah, and there's like really not a lot of lawyers in that space, so it's cool. So what I found when I went to like legal conferences and stuff is it was kind of like the same stuff, like rinse and repeat over and over. And I'm like, I need something like new, like just like a little bit of like more open-minded like environment, right? So I like love the tech space for that purpose, because it has a lot of like free thinkers. But COVID hit, right? And I told you like I had brought in like a Lean Six Sigma specialist, and I was already on like the systems like spiel. So like at that point I was pretty much like done learning about that. And now I was like, man, now I need to pivot and learn digital marketing, because this is a new world. Like COVID, everything's shut down. There's no cases. There's this new law. Like all this stuff is happening. And I'm like, I need to figure out the digital marketing space. So I settled like all my cases, I think in like 2 months. Like I went through everything, just settled anything I could. Everything else that needed to be tried was like going to sit on the court's docket and nothing was going to happen. So I really took that time during COVID to just learn whatever I could. So I started researching like digital marketing. How can I learn? I'm a lawyer. I need to learn about this space. And I fell upon like a YouTube video of his, and I literally binge watched, I think, every YouTube video I could possibly find. And he has like a big summit that's called Funnel Hacking Live. And that was coming up. It was in September of 21. I literally never got COVID the whole time. A day before Funnel Hacking Live, I literally got COVID. I wanted to die. Imagine I was studying this guy for like 7 months. And when I say studying, like my daughter Medina, like who I like put to bed every night, like was watching the courses like with me and literally calls him my teacher. Like, so just so you know, like when I study, right? So I ended up doing it virtually and it was still amazing. And then I joined like his first like coaching program. And then like his first coaching program was like, if you go, you have to make $1 million through a funnel online to be able to get into his inner circle. So I'm like, what can I do to get into your inner circle anyways? Like, I don't want to go through the process. Here's like old Dewnya. And they're like, you got to go through the process. Like, we're not going to let you in unless you hit this. So I'm like, I have to figure this out. So I ended up hitting that before the next year, and then I ended up getting into his inner circle. So awesome. But a lot of the teachings that he teaches is crazy because it basically took kind of these concepts that I was doing grassroots, and it like played them online. So like he has a concept called Dream 100. So if you guys want to look it up, it's called the Dream 100, which was basically the framework that I told you of how I built my practice. But it was like an online method of doing it. So I'm like, whoa, then maybe it might be a little tweak here, but it's literally taking the same concepts that I've already done grassroots, but now you're doing it online. So if I can replicate this, then I'll have it like, right? Like so cool and so much less time. So you're compacting time. So like if you're compacting time for me, like you're gold to me because it's the one thing that we can't buy, right? like, so I'm in his inner circle. I learn a bunch of stuff. Some of it doesn't necessarily apply directly, but you can always find, if you're open-minded enough, a creative way to take those principles and like infuse them in your practice somehow, some way. Like, you know your practice, you know what works for your clients. You're just like basically hearing ideas that people are doing in other industries and taking them and like plugging them into the legal industry that's so far behind in a lot of these principles, I feel like.
Well, that's the good thing. Lawyers are notoriously behind, and they're notoriously got the herd mentality. So if you something that maybe another industry is using, then all of a sudden, boom, you can get ahead. And lawyers are too scared to do that. And they'll come up with excuses. Well, you can't do this and you can't do that. I'm sure you've heard people say it. I hear it all the time. But instead of saying you can't do this, say, well, how do we tweak it so we can do that? And how do we make it work? Yep. And it sounds like you've done that. So that's cool. So
I love that.
Another thing you mentioned, your daughter. So your mother, you've got, I think, more than one
I have
kid.
three
You have
kids.
three. Okay. So
9,
So-
8, and 5.
young kids. Okay. So how do you balance building this empire that you're building and being a mom and doing the mom thing?
I don't balance anything. That's the secret. I integrate everything that I do. So everyone's looking for this balance. Like, balance doesn't exist. Like, I refuse to believe it. Like, it doesn't happen. Like, what are you balancing? Like, work or parenthood? Like, no, you can't. Like, it's always parenthood, right? It's always the number one thing. Like, there's never, but how can you truly integrate everything that you're doing so you never run into a situation where you're with your kids and you're not enjoying them? Or like you're at work and like, you know what I mean? Like, there has to be like a true integration of like life. So my kids are like true entrepreneurs. They're literally awesome. They have a company called Live Fun where they take adults and kids and like create events where like they have fun together. Okay, they're the coolest. They're the coolest kids. But like,
So they're already running a business.
I swear
That's
they're so
awesome.
fun. They're
That's
literally
awesome.
like the chief enjoyment officer, chief fun officer, chief magical officer. Like that's their like literally awesome. I swear. But like, why is this so cool? Because like when I'm sitting at the dinner table with them, I'm literally talking to them about real life situations. Like they've really helped me get out of some of like my most difficult challenges at the firm because they're so not filtered, right? Like I'm like, hey, mom, like this happened. What do I do? And they're just cutthroat. Like, what do you mean? Like, they don't have the same vision. What are you talking about? Right? And then it's
Oh,
like,
wow.
I mean, you know they're right, but like, you know, but like, I just truly feel like if you integrate your life and it's not like this clear, like, leave work at work, come home, leave. A lot of people have that mentality, and I just think it's a flawed mentality. Like, unless you're miserable at your work, because if you're miserable at your job, then definitely leave it at your work, right? And you should probably find something else to do with your life because we only have so many years. But if you truly love what you do, like, find a way to integrate it, find a way to, like, make them a part of it. My daughter, Medina, but for COVID, would have still been with me at the office for, like, probably another year. So I had Medina on a Thursday. On a Monday, she was in my office. I looked at her. I'm like, Medina, it's a pivotal moment. You know, I was like, the firm was growing. That was like, you know, the time I was telling you about, like, it was really challenging. Like, I couldn't be away. So I set up a nursery in my office, and she came to my office. She was 4 days old, and she stayed with me for a whole year at my office. She sat in meetings with me. Like when you talk to her, she's very articulate. It's because the attorneys used to come and like vent to her. I swear. I swear it has something to do with it. But she's also very sassy. So that probably has something to do with it. But like integrating them as much as you can and don't sacrifice one for the other because then you always feel like you're sacrificing. Like I sacrificed my career for my kids, or I sacrificed my spent time with my kids for my career. Like, no, there's not a reason. Like, you can integrate it and like be present in the moment of like where you are. If you're with your kids, truly be with your kids. Like, truly be with your kids. Like from 5 to 8:30, like till I put them to bed, I am truly with my kids. And then I put them to bed and then I plug back in. They're sleeping, so they're not fazed by it, right? And I could go work as many hours as I want, and I'm not affecting their time. But like when you're with them, be present. And when you're at work, be present, right? I think those two principles, if like you find a way to integrate as much as humanly possible, and you're find a way to like truly be present in the moment, it really helps. It's not perfect. I still like, you know, it's still hard. It's still, you still run through your challenges. Sometimes if I have to come in and I really like they have something, you know, it's a struggle. It's always a struggle. Like there's always, but if you're able to like master those two things, and I'm still trying to master them completely, but it's really helped for
Well,
me.
it's impressive what you're doing. It sounds like you're training your next generation of lawyers already to join your firm when they grow up. So that's good. So let's talk about, you're a big dreamer. We've talked about that throughout this conversation, but what's the vision? 10 years, 15 years, you tell me, 20 years, whatever it is. What's your grand vision for the firm?
You want my actual vision, or like, I'll give you my actual vision.
Yeah,
My
dream big,
actual
dream big.
vision is to find a way to disrupt the bad in the legal industry.
So what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, you know how, like, when you were in law school and you told people you were going to be a lawyer, and then everyone's like, no, you don't want to do that, right? Or you can't be a lawyer if you're a good person because then you're going to be a liar. Like all these stereotypes that we hear, right? And then you talk to attorneys who have been practicing for years, and most of them tell you, if I were to do it again, I wouldn't want to do it. I'd pick a different career. It's too stressful. It's too whatever, right? That. The fixed mindset, like the boxed mentality of, I don't think the essence of our legal profession was meant to be like this, but I think it's what it's developing into and what it has developed into. Like there should be joy around the industry. Like it should be like you should, like it's a privilege to serve these clients. Like it's a privilege for us to be able to serve and give back to like the clients that we serve. Like where is that? Like it's missing you know? And I think a lot of that has to do with the stress of the industry. A lot of it has to do with like not being able to do simple stuff, like not being able to automate some stuff in your practice that you're constantly tediously doing a task that you shouldn't be doing. Like it's not like a novel concept, you know? Now, the how do you do that has like evolved and changed over time for me. And I can't tell you I figured out the how completely yet, but I definitely think the grand vision is being able to like really like make a dent in that, like change the legal profession to like infuse joy and like service and like love for what we do, make the attorneys better and make the clients better served. And how far can we take that? How much impact can we make? How many of those attorneys can we serve? How many of those clients can we serve? You know, and the more, the better. And I don't think that number ever stops like in my head. So that's where kind of the need to keep going
Well, I love
comes
that.
from, I think.
I love that. And we haven't really talked about it, but in addition to building and running a law practice, you mentor, but you coach folks also. And so, you know, if there's people out there that want to reach out to you about, you know, your techniques and your approach to running your firm, or if they want to hire you to coach them, you know, how can they find you and what sort of services do you offer there?
Yeah, so I never looked at myself as a coach or like even as a mentor, to be honest. I look at myself as somebody who took like a lot of hits in the industry and learned a lot of lessons, and now just want to pour back into attorneys in the space because of kind of all the reasons that we talked about. I'm all over, like if you like just search my name on social on any platform, I'm on all of the platforms. So just DM me. I'm pretty selective about the attorneys that I do like pour into in this capacity. Like I have a lot of like value adds online, but on like a one-on-one standpoint, I just want to make sure that like they're willing to invest in themselves. They're actually going to take the principles and adopt them and make sure they're like the right fit. I'm the right fit for them and they're the right fit for me, because that one-on-one time is like precious to both of us. They can also email me. My email is db as in boy at lawgroup.com. So A as in apple, T as in Tom, lawgroup.com.
So real quick, you said you're on all the platforms. I know you're on LinkedIn because I see you there. What else are you on? And, you know, I'm not on anything else, so I want to get your opinion as to the other platforms. What do you think about it?
Sure. I'm on like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, LinkedIn. Those are the main platforms that I'm on. What do I think about it? That's a great question. I think I think social media gets like a bad rep sometimes, but I think that we don't utilize social media appropriately. So like social media is a tool, right? Like we shouldn't like be consumed by it, right? So I only follow things that I really care about or like that are positive energy things. I like refuse to follow any negative energy things or things that like don't add value to my life. So when I scroll, even if it's for 5 minutes, like the scrolling in and of itself is like a mental like mindset shift, like, right? So I get a ton of value from my feed. And there's no like extra stuff on there. So I think that's like one thing about social media. But the way I've been utilizing is really honestly just to like pour in and give value like with anything that comes up. So like my day to day, like my journey has been like, I realized a lot of people haven't gone through a lot of the struggles that I have, and maybe because I got like a crazy crash course and been doing it for 10 years, but like how can I avoid those people from having the same struggles that I did? If I can tell them what to expect before it comes, maybe they can avoid it. So I just use social media really as a value add platform to be able to like pour in to anybody that wants to like follow and sees value in it. I don't use social media that much in terms of like traditional marketing itself, but I also think that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So if somebody knows you and likes you and trusts you, and you can develop that through your platforms without actually physically like meeting somebody in person, then they're more likely to buy any service or product that you have to sell in the future. So for me, social media hasn't been like the means for my client base. I know a lot of people think I get like a crazy ton of clients from there, and I really don't, because I don't utilize it for that purpose necessarily. But definitely the people that are following me and like have built like trust with me, and like at this point they know and they like me. If they do need an attorney, they're gonna come to me because they're constantly seeing me, and I've already built that know, like, and trust with them. So I think that's kind of my approach to social media.
Well, I like your videos. They're really well done,
Thanks.
and I like the message. I like the messages you're putting out there. Obviously, a lot of them are you speaking to groups. You do a lot of group talks, which I think is a great idea, and back to sort of your grassroots approach. So yeah, keep putting those videos out. Those are nice. So we've been going for a while now. I want to be respectful of your time. So thank you for joining me. This has been awesome. I know you're going to be doing some really cool stuff, and I can't wait to watch.
You're awesome, and I can't wait to flip the script and do this to you so I can hear about everything that you're doing, because you're killing it too.
Anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Founding Partner Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date on the latest episodes. You can also connect with Jonathan on LinkedIn and check out the show notes with links to resources mentioned throughout our discussion by visiting www.yourlawfirmgc.com. We'll see you next time for more origin stories and insights from successful law firm founders.